Hey guys and gals, in today's video we're going to take a look at an old, what I'm guessing is about a 1950s, probably early 50s, Knight Sound Products PA head. Knight stuff was, as the badge says, made in Chicago, Illinois. I believe their parent company was Allied Electronics, at least by the late 60s. I've had some other ones that had that name on them. This should be pretty cool. It's got, let's see, got a couple channels for microphones, and then a third channel for phono, bass and treble, which I'm sure is for all of them. On-off switch here. This one's got octal preamps. I can see inside. These are kind of drawer handles for mid-century like cabinetry. Any of you who still has your mid-century cabinets in your kitchen probably, or you may have something similar to that. It looks like to me it's from that sort of thing, like a drawer, kitchen drawer. They probably got a pretty good deal on a bunch of handles for kitchen drawers and decided to use those. Got some thumb screws on the sides, a couple on each side that you remove to get inside the thing. We'll turn it around here too. Here's our microphone inputs, and these are the old Amphenol type connectors, which we will replace at least one of these with a 1/4-inch jack. Here are phono inputs. Not sure what kind of, that's one photo input. It's like a banana plug type thing. A couple of these speaker. You see these sort of speaker connections, and what they did was, I think these should have a little marking somewhere on them, like a little arrow or something. I think maybe not. I'm not sure, but with the manual, it probably told you, exactly which way to plug the thing in to make it correct. And this is your selector for 8, 6, 4 ohms and 500 ohms. So you basically just take this little guy out, this little pin, and put it where you want the output impedance to be. But yeah, let's take this top off and get a closer look inside. Okay, we have the top off this thing, and we can see we're running a pair of 6L6GCs. I'm sure they're in push-pull. We have what looks like a 5U4 there. Rectifier. On the preamp, we have a couple of 6SJ7 sockets. The tubes themselves are MIA. We have 6SC7 socket right there, and another 6SC7 back here. All of this stuff will be in the preamp. I imagine they have one phase inverter here. And probably each of these SJ7s is tied to one of the microphone channels independently, I would imagine. Probably channel 1 goes through this, and then through this tube, and then onto the phase inverter to the output. And then your other microphone channel probably goes through this one, or vice versa, and then so on. This little socket right here is probably for some kind of plug-in preamp module of some type, I would imagine. Maybe the same thing going on over here. Not sure what these are. We could look at the schematic, I'm sure, and ascertain that. They could be some sort of hookups for other pieces of equipment that Knight put out as part of some overall sound system installations. Not really sure. This is an interesting little doghouse box here. We'll see what's under that. A little thumb screw. And it is a fuse box. And it looks like we have two different types of fuse situation that we could use. This one's for 105 to 117 volts, so you would move your fuse over here if you had somewhere between 105 and 117 volts on your input, perhaps. And then over here you'd have 118 to 125. So that's unusual. The transformers, well, the output transformers on the inside, but the power transformers here, I don't see any codes on it. At least not that I can tell right off. No, I don't see any codes on this side of it anyway. Maybe there's a code on the inside. Let me see on the CAN capacitor. Let's see if we find a date code here. Bunch of codes on here, but they all look like they're patent information, and this isn't a date code. It's something else, I think. FP capacitor. Interesting. Maybe that is a date code there. I'm just not really sure what it is. 11D187G2. It's nothing I'm familiar with. So yeah, so far no real date codes on anything that I can recognize. But let's pop the bottom off and look at the interior guts. Okay, we have the bottom off of this, and just first impressions. I think this thing has been opened before. In fact, I'm sure it has. All of these capacitors look to have been changed. They were probably paper and wax caps at some point, I would imagine. These might be original. These guys. This one does have a number on the bottom of that transformer, but nothing that means anything to me. Let's see, one of these caps might have a code. Let me see. I'm sure they do have codes, but maybe not a date code I could recognize. I think this stuff is a little earlier than I'm used to working on, because none of these codes really mean very much to me. Let's see. I can't really tell what any of these pot codes say. Kind of dingy. It is a stack pole. The last are 0 something. Let's see. I may have to get some better light in here to really see the codes on these. What you can see there, it's definitely a stack pole. Brand pot. I'm thinking this thing is probably from the late 40s. The reason, we do have a schematic down here on the underside of our little tray for the bottom, and it's dated, the schematic at least, 8/14/1941. So that's right before Pearl Harbor there. Allied Radio Corporation. So I guess they were Allied Radio Corporation that far back. So they might have been always Allied Radio. Here is, yeah, and I was right on the SJ7s. They are independent to these channels. Then we go through these SC7s, which are a dual triode each. Let's see. Yeah, these. Okay, those are the output. See if I can figure out what those other little things are. There's the phono. What is that? Let's see. That's on the primary for some reason. Oh, that might be for a power supply for a phonograph. So that's what that is. It's a power supply for a phonograph. That's why it's hooked onto the primary side. And I think that might be one of those sockets on top. This is the phono input signal coming in here and going directly to the SC7 with its little kind of shaping network there. But I think this thing is going to probably sound pretty darn kick-ass when we get it going. Originally it would have had 6L6Gs, and that's the big Coke glass bottle, Coke bottle 6L6s. I do have some of those. I don't know how beneficial it would be to really put them in here. I may put some later ones, or keep the ones that are in it. Maybe they're good. And just check the bias and everything. And make sure it's okay. They've only got 25 microfarads of bypass here. A lot of times on 6L6s you can go up to about 100 and really get squeeze a lot of bass out of them, which I may experiment with. But I bet you just servicing this and getting it up to playable condition and running it just as stock with a guitar would probably sound really great. A 6SJ7 is a really good preamp tube if you like a lot of real gritty crunch tones, like kind of the early Tweeds sort of stuff. But I think this amp is going to sound really good. Let's go ahead and actually see what sort of has been changed. We'll kind of go through the schematic and kind of trace out the circuit path and see if there's anything that has been just left undone that we need to really worry about. We'll pop some 6SJ7s in it, a couple 6SC7 preamp tubes, and bring it up slowly on a variac and just kind of see what happens. Maybe I know we're going to have to replace these caps, that's for sure. I don't know where they are in the circuit, so I'm not sure what value I'm going to need. Again, these all look like they've been replaced, so I don't think those are going to be a problem. There's another electrolytic tucked up in here that will need to be replaced, I'm sure, because this thing, again, has got to be from the mid to late 40s or early 50s, and I can find out for sure by looking at those stack poles. Okay, one thing real quick before we move along. If you get one of these, you need to make sure that you do something about these output connectors. That's these things on the back right here that connect the speakers up, because without speakers without the original jacks plugged into these, this unit will not come on. The switch actually it just runs through. Let's see, there's no connection here on the switch. So your cord comes in, ties into one side of the switch, and ties over here to these jacks. And without these plugged in, there's no connection. It doesn't complete a circuit. Because as you see, here's the other side of the switch, and it also is connected. It's connected to the two pins which are jumpered across. So what we're going to do, we're going to come out here and take these entirely out. We're going to rewire the power switch and put a new cord in here and start from there. Okay, it's a new day and I've done quite a bit of work on this thing, but reached kind of a stopping point. I don't have any 10 microfarad caps to finish up the electrolytics, but I've changed a couple of the smaller ones. Changed the biggest one here, installed the output jacks, installed an input jack, and what I'm going to do is on this input, since there are two SJ7 pentodes on the input, one for each channel. I'm going to put a switch. I think I'm going to take this phono input out completely and just put a switch here that will allow you to parallel these first two internally, the first two channels, which I think would be pretty useful. You'll be able to turn that on and off for extra gain. So yeah, not much more I can do really right now until until my order of caps comes in. So bit of a waiting game at the moment. On this actually was part of the obviously is part of the power rail, but there's two different resistors basically in here. There's this resistor from here to here, and there's another resistor from here to here. So there's that. Also, let's see what else. I wasn't really able to decipher. I'm going to get my soldering iron after these pots and see if I can move the solder around just a little bit, enough to read what the codes are. I might do that. I might not have to. But it looks like this one is close to being legible. But we'll figure out kind of a rough date on this thing. I think, from what I can tell, it's definitely late 40s, early 50s. But here is the model number information on this little plate right here. Model 30S. If I can get it to focus. There we go, 30S. There's our serial number. I don't know if they can be dated by that or not yet. And it is a licensed Western Electric Company product, AT&T. So that's how far we've come. Whenever we get the electrolytics in, we will finish the job and get back with this thing. Well, it's kind of been one of those days. Got some good news. I got my 10 microfarad capacitors in, and that's allowed me to get this thing pretty much completed here, I think. And of course, you know, no good news is complete without some bad news. We lost Prince today, which is a big blow. You know, anybody who has ever picked up a guitar in the past, 30 years has probably paid some homage to Prince. My little Prince story, when I was probably in the first or second grade, I got his Purple Rain tape, and this was right after he came right on the heels of the whole Michael Jackson explosion with Thriller and everything, and I got Purple Rain on tape. I had Michael Jackson's album on vinyl for some reason, and then I got Purple Rain on tape. I think because by then I'd gotten like a little boom box, like a ghetto blaster, and so I would walk around the playground at school during both. I think we had 2 recesses, like one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Both recesses, the whole recess, I would walk around blasting that tape. I'd start with the first notes of the album and just go straight through. And one day on the playground, as I was coming back up, the bell had rung and it was time to go back in, and I still was, jamming out. And one of the teachers was like, "What are you listening to?" She was like, "Come here, let me hear that." And so I walked over and played the song that was on there, and it just so happened it was Darlin' Nikki. And this teacher was just, the look on her face, I could still see it to this day. She was like, her jaw just kind of dropped open, and I really didn't understand why. Of course, I was only in, like, again, first or second grade, so I didn't know what the lyrics meant, or I didn't know what masturbation was. I didn't know any of that shit. And so, but of course she did. So she confiscated my tape. I think I got it back at the end of the day. I had to go to the office or something with my mom, and we had to pick it up, and I guess we had a little talk about why it wasn't appropriate for school or whatever. But yeah, anyway, big blow. Stupid that we all have to die, but I guess that's part of it. What a great artist, though. Gonna miss Prince. But anyway, man, we've got all these 10 microfarads in here now. This thing's pretty much wired up and ready to go. The biggest change that I made was, let's see, look at this schematic, I'll show you. Biggest change was the right here. If you notice, we on the phono input, let's get it focused. Right here on the phono input, if we notice, we plug in, it comes here through through this pot, and then it goes on to this half of this 6SC7. Then it gets mixed in with the other half of the 6SC7, which is bringing in the microphone inputs. So these two get mixed together right here, and then they go on toward the output. So what I have done is I have taken the first channel. So the first channel is going to be our higher gain channel, and I'm going to experiment with this and see how it goes. This might sound like total shit, but we'll see what it sounds like. And just part of me thinks that this is going to be pretty cool, because this might give us a really crunchy, raunchy, overdriven tone, probably a very early breakup. So if we want early breakup, you know, a lot of rock tones, a lot of overdrive, would come in this first channel. And what I've done is I've come off right here, right past this .005 cap, right off the leg of this, and gone to pin 3 of this SC7. So what that's going to do essentially is it's going to send the signal through this pot, and we'll have independent control of this side of the SC7, and then it will also go to this side of the SC7, and we'll have independent control of both of these. So we'll be able to mix them together using the phono control. So the phono control is going to control, and that, yeah, it's another thing I forgot to mention. Actually, before it goes into pin 3, it's actually jumping from here to the phono control there, I guess. Yeah, so it would go that leg, and then you've got control over this one as well. So we've got control this way and this way of this SC7 when you go into channel 1 only. When we're going into channel 2, it'll just be normal. So it'll go, you know, through this SJ7, and then it'll come around up through here, and then go through only this half. So basically, this one will be kind of like a stock channel, and this one will be a souped up hot rod channel. So we're going to see how that works out. But here's what it looks like inside. This essentially all I've done is taken the leg. This is the phono pot. I've taken the leg of this pot, come over here, and it's grounded here, and it's going to this leg of the channel 1 pot, right past the cap. So we'll see how this works out. But essentially, what that's going to do, there's going to be signal going into this pot, and then this signal is going to come down this green wire also over to this pot, and then come through, and then go here. So, and another thing you'll notice, I've taken out all this other stuff from anything that wasn't going to be used. I just went ahead and took it out. I might leave this phono jack just so we don't have holes in the top, but the rest of this stuff I've pretty much taken out. Any wires that weren't going to be used, I've tried to take all those out just to clean things up a little bit, so should be a lot cleaner. Let's fire this thing up on a variac and see what happens. We might get smoke out, but it might be awesome. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, here's the moment of truth. We have some tubes in here from the stash. I filled out these 6SJ7s and 6SC7s, and we're going to fire this thing up for the first time on a variac, and let's see how she goes. We'll start it off with about 13 volts or so. Make sure it's on. I guess that's the on position. I guess we'll find out soon enough. There's a pair of pilot lights down here. I should see those start to glow here in a sec. I'm going to pump it up to about 30 or 40 volts on the input. yeah, we have some fire on those pilot lights, so that definitely is the on position. I don't know why I grabbed that. Completely disconnected. I could, I guess that's kind of handy to have that there too. You can pop that off and it gives you a place to, I guess, test the incoming if you wanted. Let's see, we'll continue to bump it up here. Got it to about, I just don't want to go too fast. Got it maybe about, I don't know, 50 volts right there on the meter. And we'll just give pause for a second here and give these new caps a little bit of time to form. Well, I'm only at 50 volts, and I already have output coming out of this test speaker here. So that's a good sign. I don't hear any strange noises or anything. That seems pretty early to start already getting sound. This must be really high gain. Seems a bit, definitely a bit early. Usually I have to pump it up to about, I don't know, 60, at least about 60 or 80 volts on the input to get anything out the output on an amp. But we can see here, there's our, I don't know if you can see it, there's our lights, our pilot lights under there. You can see two of them. See, that's always a very satisfying thing when you get something like this, just, you know, completely unknown as far as the workability of everything, and then you go through it and just you know that you need to replace X, Y, and Z, and then, you know, you make a couple little mods that you don't know if they're going to be, you know, a disaster or not, and to have it come up the first time is a pretty satisfying thing. At least you know you're on the right track. So that's good. And we'll continue just to bring this up a little bit slowly here. Another good thing about this is I at least know also that these 6SC and 6SJ7s that I pulled out of my stash are good. They were kind of questionable. I didn't know whether they would be good or not. With the volumes down, this thing is dead quiet. I've noticed that already. Except for that. I don't know what that's all about. When I turn this phono all the way up to 10, I'm getting a bunch of buzz through the speaker. I'm not sure what that's about. That might be some kind of oscillation or something kicking in. Don't know. Wonder if it's doing it on anything else. Kinda. Tried to right there. This one has something in it. I think if I plugged a guitar into that, I wouldn't have that problem on that channel. Okay, I can turn that one all the way up at least. Huh, that's interesting. With the microphone up some and nothing plugged into the microphone, I can turn the phono all the way up without a problem. That's interesting. Okay. Plug something back into that channel. Let's go actually into channel 2. Let's see if that channel works. Uh-oh. One of these is warm and one of these is not on the SJs. So I might have a bad resistor somewhere. Huh. Something's definitely not right. See, this microphone 2 channel is doing nothing. I'm plugged into 2 right now, and that's doing nothing at all. Let's go back into number 1. Okay, see, that's interesting because the one that was getting hot over on this socket is channel 2, and that's the one that's not working. So maybe in spite of all of the coupling caps being replaced, maybe I still have a bad coupling cap. Let's plug this one over into that socket and see if it works then. Then I'll isolate it down to a tube issue. Let's go back into channel 2. Let's see, I've got something there now. So it's a tube issue, I believe. Except interestingly, it's not getting any louder or quieter. It's just one level. You come right off 0 and you can turn it all the way up to 10 and it's not getting any louder. So that's weird. So something's not right on that channel for sure, on channel 2. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to take this one that was, I think this is the one that was hot. Let's put it here. Check it. Oh yeah, move it. Input. See, I think this tube is dead. This tube is good. So this tube is dead, and I think I also have a problem with this channel. So that tube I think is no good. This tube, which was good, can go into the channel, which I know is good. Maybe it will at least have sound again on this one channel. That's good output on that channel. So I'm going to find another good 6SJ to go in this channel, and I'm going to troubleshoot this channel, channel 2, and see what's going on with it. Okay, it turns out the problem with this second channel looks like it's the pot. I'm measuring the pot right now, and I can get it to up to 1.2K when I have the pot turned completely up. But then if I back off the pot at all, here, let's get them both over here where you can see them. Just set this in here. Here we go. Yeah, I'll turn the pot. Now it's all the way up. You can see 1.2. If I turn it at all, it goes to an open lead. Okay, pretty much done with this thing. All that's left really now is to button her back up and give it a sound test. But before I give it really a proper sound test, I don't have a properly rated speaker cabinet, unfortunately, right now. So what I'm going to do is just run it here on the table to an open speaker and just give you an idea of what this thing is going to sound like. But in short, I think it's going to sound pretty killer, so let's give it a listen. One thing I also forgot to mention is that I installed a tone circuit on channel 1 only. The reason is I tried to install the tone circuit later at a later stage, and it just wasn't working out. It's like I couldn't really get anything to work properly. No circuit that I came up with was really doing very much to the tone. So I moved it earlier. I put it on channel 1 only. Channel 2 is now just volume only and straight through on that one pentode. Channel 1, again, it's you know, you have a choice of where you want to direct your signal, as I explained earlier in the video. But right now we're going through channel 1. It's probably the channel most players would use anyway, so we'll just check it out, kind of. And you really have to take this with a grain of salt. This is an improperly rated speaker. It is 8 ohms, but it's improperly rated. It's sitting out here on the desk, so I mean, this is, you know, you take it with a real grain of salt. You hear all the rattling crap on the desk here. This is not the way I like to do. You guys who watch a lot of my videos, you know this is not the way I like to do demos usually, but in the absence of a properly rated speaker cabinet, what can I do? Here's the tone knob. There's all the way down, all the way up. Pretty decent sweep on the tone. Now we're adding in some of that second half of that 6SC7 here. Idea. Pretty raunchy, pretty cool. This is going to be a kick-ass amp. I mean, with a real speaker cabinet, this thing is gonna blow the roof off. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching this video, and if you haven't already done so, please click below to subscribe for future videos like this in the future. And y'all take care.